I know this
Hey
person's not
folks,
doing
so
so well,
we're
so
watching
they
this
won't get past point
meeting
one.
that the
They go
president's
through the
having
metal
with
detector. They back
Parkland
go through the machine. And
students and
so at
parents
the end of
on
the
the
day,
shooting.
just talking to my students right over today, they all say, well, I feel safe. And you come outside and you say, talk about mental hospitals. Our school is right across the street from a shut down mental hospital. We have, you know, if you were to come over to the streets, you'd be like, oh my God, but once you get inside the building, we have that family feel. We have those check-in points. We have it where every visitor that comes through our building has to go through these checkpoints to ensure that our students get home safe, to ensure that our staff members get home safe. And these are just minor solutions. Like, I will say, I'm against having a teacher with a gun in a building. Teachers are emotional. People are emotional. So I think that is a huge factor. However, but having students, and you may have to go to staff members going through these checkpoints to ensure that, one, their mental is on point, and two, that we're talking about they don't have any physical metal on them, and or even in our building, our students don't even carry cell phones because we consider that's a threat. It's taken away from them learning. So they actually turn in their cell phones. And so those things of ensuring our kids are there at the moment, to live the moment, to enjoy school, they get that joy factor, they get that family feeling, they're able now to connect with one another and able to communicate and not have to worry about, you know, looking over their shoulder when they walk, you know, out and into the building, because they know every person that comes to the building has been through a metal check, their bags have been checked. And so that's just a solution. Once again, my heart goes out to everyone who's been through this tragedy.
Very well said. Very well said.
Mr. President, thank you for being open to hearing all forms of solutions. I truly appreciate that. One point on the mental health issue, and I think it's important to note that someone with a mental illness is highly unlikely to ever commit an act of violence. It's a very, very small percentage. What we're really dealing here is more with a lack of mental wellness. This is around anger and fear. And that's not something that you can diagnose and put in mental health hospitals. This is more about funding for mental health services to help these individuals that are at risk, especially when we think about suicide, teen suicide. Suicide is the #2 killer of our children, as I understand right now, and a lot of these suicides are performed with firearms, which makes them, you know, unsavable. So the idea of mental health and being able to identify who's at risk, who is considering these issues, who's going into crisis, that is incredibly important. I appreciate the point on arming teachers. It's not personally something that I support. Rather than arm them with a firearm, I would rather arm them with the knowledge of how to prevent these acts from happening in the first place. How do you identify the kids in your class that are most at risk? And then, most importantly, within a school, how do we have a safety assessment program so that schools know how to deal with all these threats, have established protocols to deal with them, and get underneath the surface of what's going on in that child's life, find out why they're on this pathway behavior, and intervene. This is about prevention. There are some fabulous solutions being talked about today which still go to imminent danger. Let's talk about prevention. There is so much that we can do to help people before it reaches that point. And I urge you, please stay focused on that as well. It is the gun, it's the person behind the gun, and it's about helping people before they ever reach that point.
Yes, go ahead.
So, thank you. I fully respect all of our amendments, including the second. But in Maryland, they have proven that the Second Amendment does not protect these types of weapons. They have banned over 45 different kinds of assault weapons, including the AR. They have banned, they have limited magazine sizes. They have proven that it's not like we have to lose our Second Amendment. You know, the Second Amendment, I believe, was for defense. And I fully respect that, like I said. But these are not weapons of defense, these are weapons of war. And I still can't fathom that I myself am able to purchase one. Anyone?
I would like to follow, Mr. President. I couldn't agree. I'm not here to debate, but I lost my sister. And
like Mr. President said, if you could find 20% of maybe retired law enforcement officers or teachers who could go through discrete training to carry a firearm on this waist, it could have been a very different situation. Like he said, law enforcement, it takes them 7 minutes, 8 minutes to get there. If a teacher or a security guard has a concealed license and a firearm on their waist, they're able to easily stop the situation. Or the bad guy, I'll put it that way, would not even go near the school knowing that someone can fight back against them. Also, I believe that is insanity that they would even open the gates up 20 minutes before school ends. They're supposed to protect us and the children. So in the future, we need more security, we need more firearms on campus, we need better background checks, and we need to study more on mental health. And I want to thank everyone for their condolences, and that's my only argument. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, Madam Secretary. Well, I'm happy to see you. My deepest condolences to those who have lost family and friends. My name is Curtis Lawrence. I'm principal at Friendship Collegiate Academy. And like Mr. Brandon had said, we have security. We also have MPD.
They're all over the
staff
country.
that we hire.
They're
Yeah,
coming.
but they ought to
So
get
that
the high
things
school
aren't coming
students first
into
because they were
our
They
school.
did.
And also this
Will they
immediately
leave?
in
You
the
missed
mornings
it.
They left?
and during
No,
the
there's
dismissal,
they
we
got
around
they
the
got
school
to the
protect our
students
kids
first,
as
and then they
leave.
opened it up to
But last
everybody.
month we did suffer a loss. One of our 9th graders was gunned down walking distance from the school. And so when we talk about safe passage, I think in looking at what's happening with gun violence with our scholars and with our students, I'm saying taking a double approach, right? You have to protect kids that are in schools, right? So as a president, you have different laws in different states. And so definitely where they don't have the necessary security as we may have as getting in, then we have to think of what are those solutions for the kids in Florida that are going to those schools with that to make sure that they're safe in school. And then places like here in DC, what are those solutions to make sure kids are able
See,
to
they
get
got the
home
DC
and
kids
to
in, and
school
they got the Florida
safely?
kids
So I
in.
think it's a
And a
two-pronged
lot of it's covering.
approach, and I
But
know
they,
you have a
they're in,
specific position
and
to
also they
as you meet
study
with the
talking about I can
governors and
buy
they
a
have
gun
their different laws that
at
come from these
18,
different perspectives.
and you can buy a war
to make
gun
them own
at
Yeah.
18.
that
And
two-pronged
they went on to talk about
approach to
Australia.
protect
They
them in
had
school
one
and protect
shooting
them
there.
elsewhere.
5 years ago, they
Going
haven't had a
back and
one.
forth.
No,
They have.
so why not follow the other countries? They have covered everything in here, and that's one
Madam
reason
Secretary,
I was
for
supposed to go to the
convening
store,
us
clean up my
and
yard.
allowing us all the
I looked at
opportunity
this.
to
I
speak
really
about
did.
this very serious problem. And my heart absolutely breaks for the families of Parkland. I have a sense of what you are going through now. I've been going through it for 5 years. This is my son Daniel. He was 7 years old when he was shot to death in his first grade classroom in Sandy Hook Elementary School.
Yeah.
Just a little over 5 years ago.
That tore me up for so long.
My wife Jackie could not be here today because she's a school teacher and she takes that job seriously and sent me as the ambassador. Jackie is a career educator and she will tell you she has spent over a decade in the Bronx. And she will tell you that school teachers have more than enough responsibilities right now than to have the awesome responsibility of lethal force to take a life.
Right.
Thank you. Nobody wants to see a shootout in a school, and a deranged sociopath on his way to commit an act of murder in a school with the outcome, knowing the outcome is going to be suicide, is not going to care if there's somebody there with a gun.
Right.
That's their plan anyway.
See? Thank you,
I'm
Jesus.
going to build on what my friend and colleague, Nicole Hockley, said. We tried this legislative approach. I've been in this building before, many times, wringing our hands, pleading with legislators, what can we do? Until we finally said, we have to go home and do this ourselves. And we built something. Sandy Hook Promise has built something that works. We train students, and we train teachers, and we train educators with the tools how to recognize these people, and with the tools of how to intervene, and with the tools to get them to the help that they need before they pick up a gun or any other weapon and commit a horrible tragedy. It works. We don't charge for it. We're not asking for money. We've already stopped school shootings. We've already prevented suicides. already captured other social issues like bullying and cutting. We know that it works. We have a solution right here. We're asking for you to please help. We need to do this nationally now. Thank you.
Wow, that's great. I'll end this part on that because
I'd like to take the opportunity
this
to
is
thank you and the Vice
quite long,
President and
but,
to thank everyone here for joining us today.
well, stay tuned to
for
Cine
telling
62,
your
folks.
stories, for sharing